Yes. Yes. I will. I'm trying to.
I was like, I thought this wasn't working. Like, why isn't the video coming through?
Absolutely. Oh my word. Okay, I would like you to take out, actually there's multiple ways you can do what I would like you to, that was not even proper English. Because I'm flustered. Number one, you can take out a piece of paper and pencil right now. Number two, if you have no paper or pencil, you can make a little Word document or notepad thing that you will email me, because we're about to have a quiz. Nothing is death. Everything we talked about last time, nothing to behold. Before you start writing something, let me let me say a couple things. Okay, so there's going to be about 5, 6 questions, something like that. They're all format. Okay. This one, know that because the font's so big, it's running around. So this is giving you what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers. It's telling you that there's different columns, right? And so you could think of it as 1, 6, 5, 5, 4, 3, and that's it. And then the question is, enter this matrix using semicolons if needed. And then this part, which you can't see, says enclose in square brackets. Okay? So for example, how would you answer this one? This one goes left square bracket, 1, 6, you fill out the rest. Okay? If you're saying to yourself, this seems pretty easy, that's just entering in the thing in matrix form, you're right. You're right. Okay, I'm going to give you, actually, did you get it from there? So yes, if there is like, oh, some big problem, I'll scroll back up. Let me know at the end. Okay. So the first character and the last character of your answer will be square brackets, because that's how we enter in matrices into MATLAB. Okay, so far so good? Incorrect. Question 3. There's another set of numbers. It's in a specific organization. How would you enter in that matrix? You're in like those math like speed things where as soon as you're done you raise your hand, and as soon as half the class raises their hand you move on to the next one. And so if you guys are like, what kind of evil school did you go to? And then the idea was if you had zero idea how to do it, you got your hand up immediately because you hoped that they would keep going and that people wouldn't have a chance. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was a little different when I went to school. Give me a break. Oh, now there's 2 matrices. It's asking you to enter the result of A plus B and check organization. The answer is 1 matrix. What would that be? Online class, you will also do this quiz. And you can, I don't know, email it to me, or the TAs will tell you what to do. That's why I say when I have no idea what to do. Here's an A minus B. And since I won't be able to fit it on the screen, there's A, there's B. You are entering in the matrix A minus B. This one says A dot multiply B. What is the answer there? You didn't get the last one? Let me know when you got it. Okay, thank you. Two matrices want to enter in the result of A dot multiply B. Enclosed in square brackets, because that's how we enter in matrices into MATLAB. Okay, everybody good? Anybody need more time? Okay, you bet. This thing? Oh yeah, I don't like this at all. Should I just throw it on the floor? I didn't mean for you to move your phone. Although you know what happens if your phone goes off? Oh, I can stop now? Okay. I don't know if I said it, but if your phone goes off during class, do you know what happens? I get to answer it. Yes. And I will. Don't believe me? Have your mom call you. I'll talk to your mom. Okay, ready for next one? If your phone buzzes because you get a text, I get to answer with any text message I like. And believe me, I come up with some good ones. Okay, that is the end of that one. Want me to go back to question 2? That's this one. Yes. Come back to that one? Yes. You good? Okay. Question 5, you said? Okay, oops. I'll try to get it all on the screen. This is the A minus B. Okay, good to go. Any others? All right. Not so bad, right? Oh, that's not good. Oh, don't want people falling asleep in here. Okay, any questions on that? Oh, the TAs are now going to come around and you're going to hand in your paper to them. Yeah, please put your name on. So while they're doing that, I have some exciting news for you. Are you ready? Like for exciting news? Are you anticipating with bated breath? We have, if we want, until 10 till 7 o'clock p.m. today to do MATLAB. Don't be so enthusiastic. I have a quiz question for you. I guess we just had a quiz. If you were to describe the main concept of Monday's lecture, I don't know if you remember, but 2 days ago we had class. So we were in here 2 days ago at like 4 o'clock. If you had to describe the main concept, the one thing I wanted you to go away from with that class, what was it? Excellent. Everything is a matrix, and there is a little follow-up to that as well. I guess I should have said 2 things, because that's absolutely correct. And there's one more thing. So 2 things. Everything is a matrix. Absolutely right. What else? What's the main thing we talked about last time? What did I impress upon you about those matrices? Oh, maybe it's a bonus question. By the way, I already have received one photo doing MATLAB in the eatery, bartender clearly in sight, homework clearly in sight. You know who you are. Actually, I'm pointing at the camera, sorry. What did I ask? Oh, what was the other main thing about last time? All of these matrices have, yeah, okay, good. Rows and columns, that's good. Organization. The data is organized. We have to keep that in mind as we move on, because that is where we get into trouble if we just kind of, they're just a bunch of numbers on the screen. No, that's when you get the beeps and the angry red text, okay? Main thing about today, if you had to walk away with one thing, the word is addressing. And that is what we will go through today. The simplest kind of addressing is truly simple. So simple, or like we did, this is not even something to learn. And then the more complicated, you may find yourself, because we want to move through different levels of MATLAB prowess, okay? MATLAB, there's your MATLAB where you get in 112, and it's like, yeah, I can turn it on, and 3 and 4, great. But then that's like basic. Then there's a savvy level. Okay, we absolutely definitely want to get to the savvy. We want to be savvy in MATLAB. And then if you get really good, you are sassy. Okay, and my job is to show you sassy ways of using MATLAB. Okay, not just mouthing off. Well, maybe mouthing off, maybe trash talking MATLAB to your friends. You know how you do with other things, biochem trash talking, calculus trash talking, that kind of thing. You can do the same thing with MATLAB. Some introductory slides. There are really only 2 kinds of commands that you type into the window. We actually looked at both of them last time. One is something we call assignment, and that is simply where you say A equals and then a matrix in whatever organization is appropriate for you at that moment. Okay? Just what you think it is. Storing a number, storing a matrix in a variable's name. Okay? The other kind is an ask. An ask returns the value of a variable. And that is, both may use addressing kinds of statements. We definitely want to talk about exactly how we do this. Arguably, there might be a 3, which I call a do. By the way, this is not found in any MATLAB textbook whatsoever. I totally made up these names, kind of. And if you talked about them with somebody else, they'd say, what are you talking about? But I'm up here teaching, so I get to say whatever the heck I want. A do is a bunch of commands in a function or script, but that's just basically more assignments and asks. Okay, so nothing about that. Assignment. Good coding practice means we make our variable names descriptive, okay? So what are some good examples of variable names? Good practice in MATLAB means we make the names, basically we make the names of variables such that if somebody not in this class, you were showing that variable to them, they would probably know exactly what that variable holds. Okay? Seconds from time 0. That's pretty clear. Lots of variable names are just a bunch of words mashed together. It's actually a good, bad English, good MATLAB. You know, whoever would have known. You know, and you're an engineer and you're in English class and you think, will I ever really need this? And it's like, no. But you can mash together words in MATLAB. It's great. Heart rate on June 6th. Is there any doubt as to what that number is? No. Okay. Exchange rate, dollars to francs. I'm going to the Eiffel Tower. Very interested in this. Bad names, A, X, H. You get the message. Okay. When you are writing your homeworks, your functions, your scripts as we go on in time, make sure you use good variable names. That will be absolutely something that will be part of checking off. No, bad name. Despite that, I retain the right, for illustrative purposes, up here when I'm demonstrating in MATLAB during class, to use the terrible names. But I always try and tell you, this is a bad name, right? But I'm just too lazy to type out heart rate on June 6th. Okay, but you don't get to do that, just me. Name variables as though you want your colleagues not in this class to know what they mean. Some notes on variable names. Here is where MATLAB is two words to describe it. One is forgiving. That's the optimistic way to put it. And the pessimistic way to put it is horribly unstructured. And why do I say that? When you start MATLAB, there are a certain number of predefined names which are just there for you. So, here we go. I started MATLAB. I haven't done anything else. If I type pi, it knows what pi is. Okay, if I say clock, I think this is still a command. It gives you a series of numbers that represent the year, the hour, the day, whatever. But I can do something crazy like say clock equals 4. And now if I ask for clock, it gives me 4. I can overwrite these things. That can be very dangerous. The very first time you start MATLAB and you put in I, it thinks it's the imaginary number. 0 plus 1i. But I can easily overwrite that, and now I is 2. Good to know that that kind of thing exists. All right, Leon, what am I doing?
What?
I've got the problem that I had in signals. What TAs are wonderful because I have zero idea what to. On my screen, it has the slide. On your screen, it has a blue window with light coming in. Wonderful. Okay, so there's predefined names. They let you overwrite the names. The WHICH command is a wonderful thing to have when you are trying to think about good variable names. So for example, if I thought, I think I make up a variable name called which, let's say I have a variable name, seconds from time 0. There's about a 0% chance that MATLAB has reserved that for something. So if I say which, seconds from time 0, it says it's not found. But what if I thought about a variable name which was supposed to store the date of something? The day. And here we go again. I'm typing and I'm acting like you can see it and you can't. It's all right. Someday I'll get this all correct. Okay, so I typed which seconds from time 0. Can't find it. What if I was like date? That sounds like possibly MATLAB might have. And sure enough, MATLAB returns that it thinks that date is a M file and would do something like return the date, presumably. So if I type date, sure enough, it does. So the WHICH command is very good when it comes to seeing if your variable name is a good variable name. Okay? Questions so far? All right, let's see if this works. So how do I do this if I want to do this myself, Leon? Hide presenter view?
Yeah.
Wow, excellent. An ask command asks, what does this matrix contain? Okay. It's often used with assignments. If you type a name only, then MATLAB will give back to you what's in that variable. Okay. So if you start from the command line and you just type in the name of something, there's a whole series of things that MATLAB goes through. It's important for us to talk about it because this is a little checklist to see if you do get some angry red text, why it might be giving you angry red text. The first thing it does is to see if that name is really a variable in the workspace. So does it appear in our workspace? If so, it displays the value. If it can't find it there, it sees if it's one of its own built-in commands, like date. If it finds it there, it executes the command. If not, then MATLAB will look in the current directory for a file named that thing, .m, and if it finds it, it executes it. If it can't find it there, it searches all the directories in its path. And if not, it just gives you some nasty red text. So whenever you type in something and it says undefined function or variable whatever, it means that it's not in the workspace and it's not a file that it can find. Okay? Why are we going through this? To reduce the number of times that you get angry red text, because angry red text means angry student. And angry professors too. Addressing. Oh, it even says in the title, most important thing today. Okay, so last week it was matrices. Everything's a matrix and every matrix has organization. Today, it's addressing. What does addressing mean? Addressing means how do I select particular elements or groups of elements out of the matrix? When I think of the different numbers in the matrix, each one is, we have a special name for it. Each one is an element. It's an element. Now, why didn't I just say number? Each one is a number, or each one is a scalar. Why didn't I say that? Because, as we saw last time, matrices don't necessarily only store numbers. They might store true falses, which are logical things. They might store characters, letters. They might store cats and dogs. You know, we saw all kinds of things last time. But no matter what kind of data piece it is, every individual thing is an element. Okay? When we address, we do it with parentheses. When we tell MATLAB what kind of matrix we want to put there, we use the square brackets. But when we address, we use parentheses. This gets a little tricky, as we'll see in a couple minutes, because actually when we start doing complicated, savvy, or even sassy addressing, we need both. We need both. But you shall see. You shall see. All right, given a special matrix, which I will type in, A equals, see, isn't A a horrible variable name, right? You don't get to use it. I do. Okay, 1, 3, 4, 7, 6 minus 4, 0, 2, 2, 5 minus 1, 8. Not so sure I did a good job with that, so what should I do right now? Just hit enter, not put the semicolon, right? Doesn't hurt anything. It just spits it right back at you. It does it in a pretty print so I can see that, yes, it's in a 3x4 fashion. Okay. The very, very simplest type of addressing is picking out a single element from that matrix, and this is probably something you did in 112, maybe. If I want the element that's in the second row and third column, then I simply type in, this is an ask, 2, 3. Okay? Now, how many of you would say, remember, I'm not going to call on you. How many of you would say you did something like this in 112 with some sort of regularity? Okay. We're going to take this a step further. So if I hit return now, what happens? It returns to me, it asks, so it returns to me the element in the second row and the third column, which, if you know. What else did it do? It did something else. It created a variable. And what's the name of that variable? ANS. And what is ANS? It's a matrix, right? It's a matrix. Everything is a matrix. It's a special matrix. Why? What is this special matrix called? I heard it, scalar. Why is it called scalar? Because it's a 1x1. Now, if I go up and look at the workspace, sure enough, I have a matrix there, ANS, which is 1x1. Great. So it did do a couple other things. Now, ANS really appears for this. I'll move this a little bit over so we can see its class, which is obvious. Okay. Again, I don't know. You might be in one of two places. A little sidebar. I was talking and lecturing and talking about MATLAB, and now I'm doing a sidebar. Sidebar. You may be one of two people. You may be the kind of person that says, this is so easy and boring, and I know it, that I might go to sleep. Okay, good for you. If you want to, you can go to sleep. Or you may be, yeah, this is kind of familiar, but I don't know, 112 was a long time ago, and I'm not so sure about. It doesn't matter who you are, what kind of attitude you hold. I'm making sure we're all on the same page. There'll be plenty of sessions left for us to get into more sassy stuff. Okay. Out of sidebar, back into lecture mode. What if I want an entire row or column? Okay, if I want an entire row or column, then one of those numbers, instead of A 2, 3, I'm going to replace whichever thing I want with a colon. So for example, if I say, let's do this. If I say A 3, remember it's always row, comma, column. And the colon means everything, or all. So I've just typed out all rows, the third column. Well, all rows of the third column is just the third column. Okay. So if I hit return, what's going to happen? It's going to show me, it should return to me the third column. And it did. Was that the third column? Yes, it was. 4, 0, minus 1. 3 very important things. Now, 2 we already talked about. 1 is it didn't just put it on the screen, it made a new variable. Well, in this case, it overwrote the variable ANS, which was already there. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, what is that ANS? It's a matrix. Everything is a matrix. Number 3, also very important, and repeating from last time. The matrix ANS is not just a bunch of numbers. It has organization. ANS now has another special name. What is that special name? What kind of matrix is that? Say loud. 3 by 1. Yes. Is there a special name we give to a column vector? Column vector. Great. Very good. The point is it has organization. It has organization. And just throw the 3 numbers up there. It has organization. As we go on, you will see why I'm going to keep beating this into you. We learned about the colon operator last time, yes? Let's do something else. It's a little bit too easy. It's always row, comma, column. I'm asking for the first row, and columns, the colon operator, if there's 2 numbers on either side of it, means step in ones, 2, 3, 4. I'm asking for the first row, columns 2, 3, 4. I can't remember what A was, so I go back up there and I look at the, I can't remember what I asked for here, so this could go on all day. 1, the first row, elements 2, 3, 4 would be what? 3, 4, 7. 3, 4, 7. And how is it going to return it to me? What is the size of that thing going to be? 1 by 3. Excellent. Which makes it makes it have its own special name, which is what? A row vector. Excellent. Okay, and there it is. It overwrote ANS. It didn't just throw those numbers up on the screen. They have a particular organization to them of their own. Okay? So far, questions. This is a very good time to say, I don't know what in the heck you're talking about. I'm lost. Because if you are, half the classes. Any little questions about that? We had just covered basic addressing, and now we want to move to savvy addressing. Okay? All right. The first thing to notice is that this row ask, this column ask, can each be vectors of their own. That's where it starts getting sassy. What if I say something like, I'm going to put A back up there. How do I put A back up there? I do an ask. I just type A, no semicolon, gives it back to me. All right? What if the data, what if the elements I want are not all together, grouped together? Oh, we need a better name for that. If you called Grandma tonight, what did you tell Grandma on Monday? What was our special word on Monday was concatenation, right? If you called Grandma tonight and said, I want to tell you, Grandma, about something we did today, and we worked with numbers that aren't all together, she's going to say, what are you talking about? Well, if you say, we worked with non-contiguous data, oh, I guess I'm not so sorry to reach into my bank account and pay that tuition. Non-contiguous. I could get any job you want. What if I wanted this, come back to me? What would I do? Can I do that? Yes. How would I do that? Like this. I first think about the rows I want. I can't remember what I pointed to, but let's pretend I wrote it. I pointed to the first and second row. Okay. Well, that's just 1 and 2. What columns did I point to? I think I pointed to the second column and the fourth column. When I do this kind of ask, now I need to use the square brackets within my little ask statement, okay? So I can't just do something like type 2, 4. MATLAB does not know what I'm doing. I have to do it in vector form. So I have to do something like this, okay? So lots of things now, lots of things to think about, but that's okay if it takes you a few seconds. After all, we are moving from basic to savvy, right? A is now, I'm asking for the first and second rows and the second and fourth columns of this matrix. What will be returned to me? Well, it should be the elements in the first and second row and the second and fourth columns. If I hit return, sure enough, it did. Okay, do you see that? I got exactly what I asked for. ANS, and notice it gave me that answer in the right configuration, the exact configuration that was this, which means I was extracting 4 numbers, but they were in 2 rows and 2 columns, which means I now have a 2 by 2 matrix returned to me. Okay? Question on that? They can both be non-contiguous. What about 1, 3? Without actually typing it in and hitting return, could you tell me what 4 numbers are going to come back to me? What am I going to get back? First and third row, first and third column. Wonderful. If it seems a little bit, if you're starting to get a little, I don't know, it's 4 o'clock and I'm not so sure what's going on, this is what I do. I draw lines. You know how you get, I would just get my paper and pencil and copy out the numbers and draw lines, like literally take 10 minutes to do that. In my mind, I will draw first and third rows, first and third columns. I'll see where they intersect. Those are the numbers that it's going to return to me. Okay? So it should be a 2 by 2. And it is those 4 numbers. Great. And what is ANS? It is a matrix. If you don't know, shout out matrix. That's the right answer. And it's 2 by 2. Okay. Questions so far? Because we want to get to sassy. All right. I know. Yeah. I'm looking around. I see goosebumps. I see you trembling. It's like, I can't wait. He's going to show me sassy. What is sassy? The power of MATLAB. Oh, what did I just do? Oh my word. Something's weird. That second argument, which is the row column, the columns argument, it's not 1, 4, it's 4, 1. What in the world's going to happen? Probably what you are guessing. I asked for the second row. I asked for the 4th column and the 1st column. So the second row, the 4th column, and the 1st column. So the numbers are the 2 and the 6. How is that going to be returned to me? As a matrix? What is the organization of that going to be? 2, 6, not 6, 2. Even in the original matrix, it was 6 on the left and 2 on the right. Now it's 2, 6. Okay. Hopefully you are starting to see that This is a rather powerful way of taking the numbers you want out of the matrix and only the numbers you want out of the matrix. And if they need rearranging for some reason because you don't like the way they are arranged or you just want certain ones in a certain order, you can do it. You can do it. Just remember, it's always row, column, comma. I'm summarizing now. I'm summarizing. This is an ask statement. It's row, column, comma. The most basic thing is if each one is a number. 2, column 3, 2, comma 3, 1, comma 1. That just returns to you a number. The next level is if you have a vector in that row thing, argument, and a vector in that column argument. So you can pick out specific ones. That's savvy. Sassy is you can put anything in any order. So you can get things backwards, you can get different rows, different columns, and so forth. Okay, I wonder if you have any questions about that. No? It's not fun if I'm the only one talking. So, you should just ask a question, even if it doesn't pertain to the class. You have a question that does not pertain to the class?
What's your favorite color?
Oh, yeah, purple.
Respectable.
Buddy the Elf. Buddy the Elf. That's from Buddy the Elf. No. What's that show? Never mind. Good question. Plus, I just blurted out a color. Is it really purple? Probably. Blue-purple. Good. Have you learned about the famous END statement? END. Is that all part of 112? Okay, good. Let us review just in case. If I type in is B a good name or a bad name for a variable? Bad, but I can do it because why? Because I'm teaching, right? Good. And I can do whatever I want to do. That's not true. While I'm up here, I can say whatever I want. That's not true either. Maybe I'll just be quiet for a while. B2 colon end. Oh, MATLAB is smart. It's your friend. It knows you might not know how many columns or elements there are in that matrix / vector. It knows that the end one is the fourth one. Kind of skipped over something a little fast, so maybe I need to go back a little bit and talk about that. If you have just a row vector or a column vector, okay, one of the dimensions is 1, and you want to do an ask statement like this, notice I don't necessarily need to put both the row column arguments in there. So I said B2 to the end, but the full ask of that would be really, this is what? This is a 1 row by 4. This is a 1 by 4. So really, the full statement would have been rows, which is the first row, the second to fourth columns. And that's exactly the same thing. Okay, one's not right and the other wrong. They both are the same way to do it. MATLAB is just providing you with some shortcuts in case you have a row vector or a column vector. The same is true of, let's make something else. That's a rather boring matrix. C of 2 to 4. I just have one argument. So is it rows or is it columns? Well, MATLAB knows that it's only one column, and it's just going to return to you the second to fourth rows of that thing. You could absolutely type out the full thing, and in fact, sometimes with some students, I actually recommend they do if they're starting to get confused about what you can do and what you can't do. Okay, question. Let's see, it is 4:50. We still have 2 hours together. So 2 more hours of MATLAB. Have you ever been more excited? Yeah, that's correct. That is correct. You have never been more excited. What do we have left to do today? Not much. Not much. Okay, that's good news. Okay, I call to your attention. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want to just dive into this. I want to give you the big picture. Sometimes the big picture, I need 10 seconds to think about what the big picture is. Actually, how to say it. I know what the big picture is. Recapping. There are two types of commands. One is the assign command. It's what you think it is, x equals. And then in square brackets, I put the organization of the matrix so that it works out the way I want it. Organization is very important. Everything on that right-hand side is a matrix. By now, I pounded that into you, which is good. I want to pound that into you. The other kind is an ask. That is if the matrix is presumably already there, and I want to pull out certain elements in it. And I might want it in a particular organization of its own, because as soon as I do the ask, it creates a new variable for me called ANS. So I may want that, and I may want that in a certain organization. Okay, so that's recapping what we've done so far. Now, what I want to do with the rest of our time. I want to answer the question, what happens if you assign an element that doesn't exist, but the variable exists? What happens if you assign an element to a variable that doesn't exist at all? What happens if you ask, so those are two assigned things, and then the same two things for ask. What happens if I ask for an element or group of elements of a matrix that is already there? And what happens if I ask for an element or a group of elements to a variable matrix that is not already there? Okay, that's what I want to do. So we're going to tackle those. I just asked for B. B was already predefined. It's a very boring row vector 2, 3, 4, 7. If I ask for, no, I'm going to start with a sign. I don't know what I said, but I'm going to start with a sign. If I assign the first row, the 7th column to something. Now, by the way, because this is a row vector, did I really need to put the 1 comma in there? No. Could you? Yes, because I just did. If I say 1 comma 7 is 1, what does it do? You might, if you haven't already typed it and found out, you might think, well, there is no 1 comma 7 to put a number into, therefore it gives an error. Actually, what MATLAB does, in its craziness, is it says, okay, I assume you want something that big. I'll put it in that spot, and everything that wasn't there, I'm going to fill in with zeros. Okay? So in one fell swoop, with doing something that kind of looked like it could be an error statement, it actually gave you something, and it put some zeros there. Okay? A lot of these first 2 lectures were talking about MATLAB's strange, idiosyncratic behavior. And the reason we are doing that is we. I keep saying we, it's me. Who else is teaching? I. The reason I am telling you this is so to help minimize the number of beeps and angry red text messages you get. That is the whole point. If it's a bigger thing, like here's A, what if I said 5th row, there's only 3 rows, 5th row and 5th row and 5th column, there's only 4 columns, of A equals 99. What does it do? It'll put it there, and it'll fill in everything else with zeros. Okay? So that's important to know. we can assign an element into a matrix that doesn't actually have that structure already. Okay, so that's assigning. What if I ask for an element that's not there? The matrix is already there. So I'll take the 100th row, the third column. It's not there. Then what happens? Problem. Okay. So then it does kind of what you think it would do. It can't return anything to you. It doesn't think you want something there, so there's an error. Okay. Give me the name. Give me a good name of a variable. This is total creative time for you. Example of a good name of a variable. Distance from x. Okay, what were you going to say? Who said over here? Uniform something? Uniformity? University? Unicorns currently on Earth. Wow. I think she got you beat. Okay. Number of unicorns on Earth. That is not a variable, that's not a matrix, which is currently in our workspace. True? You all agree. In fact, we only heard about it 10 seconds ago. I don't know if you remember, but like 15 seconds ago, she said this crazy number of unicorns on Earth. Okay, so what if I said, whoa, I don't care. I'm going to assign the fourth row and the second column of this matrix that doesn't exist to a number. What's going to happen? What should happen? MATLAB should tell you there's no matrix that's called that. Sorry if I got a little... It's the way I think MATLAB should behave and the way MATLAB behaves. Okay. But it does. What it does is it creates it for you right there on the spot. Whatever you wanted to get put in at that location, it gives you that structure. Everything that it can't figure out, it puts in zeros. The point is it makes it. Okay. So the number of unicorns on Earth, you almost think that should be a scalar, right? Like, well, there should be 42, but not a matrix 4 by 2, number of unicorns on Earth, like, you know, string theory, my head's exploding. That's all right. This is just for fun. How about accessing, okay, asking for, so we did 3 of the 4 things. Asking for elements that don't exist in a variable that doesn't already exist. Okay, so this is an ask. So if I say, what was that one? Distance from x. Sounds rather boring now, right? But no, it's good. Okay, if I say distance from x and I ask it, what's your 9th element? I think you kind of are getting the picture by now. MATLAB, it's not like MATLAB can discern that you really wanted something. It doesn't know, it's not there. So it tells you, well, there's no variable distance from x. Okay. Let us return. And now it just did it, okay. Wow, I'm like way behind. A wonderful end statement. Assigning elements that extent, yep. Okay. So here's the summary of asks and assigns. And so this is right on your slides handed out. If you ask for it, it's not there, you'll get an error. If you ask for it and it is there, this is actually backwards. By the way, this is upside down from the way we went through it in time. Ask for it, it's not there, you'll get an error. If you ask for it and it is there, you'll get the elements. If you assign it, it's not there, it will fill the assignment's elements with zeros. It'll create a new variable. Number of unicorns on Earth. If you assign it, it was already there, it will replace the element that was there. Did we actually do that? That actually, this may be obvious, but I guess I did not explicitly say it, so let us do exactly that. Is B still there? B is still there. Recall from 112, or if you were asleep that day, let me just tell you, I can do an assignment on something, a variable that's already there, to an element location that's already there. So if I say B of 3 equals 999, then what happens? Well, it actually replaces whatever was in that location, which happens to be a 4, with the number 999, but keeps everything else. So that is a replacement. And a replacement is a special kind of assignment. It's a special kind of assignment. Oh, so here's another thing. If you have a matrix which is not a row vector or a column vector, but has a larger than one dimension in both the row dimension and the column dimension, but you do an ask with only one argument, then what happens? Okay, so what MATLAB, what should it do? It should say, Unity, there's rows and columns here. What are you doing asking for a single number? Because I don't understand. But MATLAB is forgiving. What it does is it counts down the rows and jumps to the next column. So in other words, it's fine with this. It's fine with this. And this is called linear indexing. So again, if A is that 4x4 matrix, and you ask A of 11, what are you? It will count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and it will land at that -1, and that is what it will return to you. Almost done. I mean, still got an hour and 50 minutes, so that's awesome. Notice that replacement commands, and this you'll see this in your homework, can be rather, in fact, you can be rather savvy or sassy with those as well. So if I want to replace only certain columns and certain rows and columns, I do just that. It's like starting with the ask, and then I just go ahead and do what I want to do. So for example, let us replace okay, the 1 and the 2 and the 7 and the 8. I want to replace those. First of all, we have to know that whole ask thing. So that is rows 1 and 3. Columns, what did I say, 1 and 2 and 7 and 8? That's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 4. I'm making an assignment, or actually a replacement, a subset of an assignment. So the important thing now is what? This right-hand side has to be in the same arrangement, the same organization as what I am trying to replace. What am I trying to replace with the 1, 3 and the 1, 4? That ends up being a 2 by 2, right? So whatever I put on that right-hand side better be a 2 by 2. So I have to put it as, 99, 98, semicolon, 97, 96, picking big numbers that, we can be really sure it did it. Okay, if I put it into a different organization, it won't work. There's one exception to that, and the exception is if you want to replace all of those locations, that 2 by 2, all 2 by 2 locations with the same number. Then you don't actually have to type out the same number in a 2 by 2. you can simply put in whatever number you wanted. And since the number was so big, now it had to span over columns, but it put it in there. Put the same number in there. Okay? Question on that. Finally, you are saying to yourself, I don't know what you're talking about, but in 112, we just double-clicked on this thing, and up came a little Excel kind of spreadsheet like right here, and I could just click and change whatever I wanted. Yes, you can do that, but you wouldn't be able to do that within a script or a function. Okay, so that we do need to know both. Now, if you're just messing around in MATLAB, you know, like you do on Thursday nights, which I already have proof, at least one of you is taking MATLAB to the bar. It's great. You know, you're messing around. And it's just easier for you to do. You just want to change one number in a matrix. Should you do this? Of course, you always want to do things the easiest way. That's engineering. I know up to now your engineering professors have told you want to do things the hardest way. I don't know what planet they're from. You want to do things the easiest way, okay? So you don't need to be a psycho about it. If it's easier to do this, then do this. If we're going to write a function or a script, we're going to do the other thing, of course. Okay, talk about that. Oh, it's fun. No sound. I don't know what I did wrong here. So you know how you like to get your assignment and get it out. I understand. It's the same way. Today's assignment should be there and up for you. It looks a lot like last time. There is some savviness to it. Read it carefully. It will do a lot of the concepts that we did before. This week was meant to be really catch-up week. I want to make sure we're all on the same page. I said some very, very basic things. If they weren't basic to you because, you know, MATLAB just wasn't your strong suit, that's okay. That's okay. This week was meant to get us all on the same page. I want to tell you that starting next week, we will quickly start getting into a little more advanced things. We always want MATLAB to be our friend, not our enemy. Yes. To do so, we need to look at things a little more carefully. Any questions? All right. Have a great weekend, and I will see you next time. Yeah, yes.